Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the ruins of what was once the most beautiful palace in the galaxy. The crystal walls that used to shine like diamonds now lay broken on the marble floor. 3 months had passed since the humans won the Great War against the elves who ruled everything for thousands of years. Lisa never thought she would see this day when she was just a small girl on Earth dreaming of the stars. The elven homeworld, called Ethermore, looked nothing like the stories her grandmother told her. The floating cities that once danced in the sky now sat crashed on the ground like broken toys. The silver towers that reached toward the clouds were bent and twisted. Even the famous singing crystals that made music from starlight were silent. Now, Lisa walked through the grand hall where elven kings once held court. Her boots made loud sounds on the cracked floor. Behind her walked 2 human soldiers carrying plasma rifles. They wore the blue uniforms of Earth Command with the golden eagle that meant victory over all enemies. Lisa wore the same uniform, but with more stars on her shoulders, because she was the captain in charge of this whole world. The doors at the end of the hall opened with a grinding noise. More human soldiers came in, dragging someone between them. Lisa knew who it was before she saw the face. Lady Sylviana Moonwhisper had been the greatest general the elves ever had. She commanded 1,000,000 ships and won battles across 100 worlds. But now she looked very different. Sylviana's long silver hair was dirty and cut short. Her once perfect elven armor was gone and replaced with gray prison clothes. The proud shoulders that never bent to anyone were now hunched forward. Her green eyes that used to shine with magic and confidence now looked at the floor. She had cuts on her face and hands from the last battle. The soldiers forced Sylviana to her knees in front of Lisa. The elf tried to keep her head up, but her strength was gone. Lisa remembered watching videos of this same elf giving speeches about how humans were just animals who got lucky with some new technology. Sylviana had called humans weak and stupid. She said they would never be more than servants to the great elven empire. Lisa pulled out a datapad and read from it in a clear voice. The charges against Lady Sylviana Moonwhisper were long and serious. She had ordered attacks on human colonies where millions of innocent people died. She had refused to follow the rules of war. She had used banned weapons that turned whole planets into glass. The list went on and on. When Lisa finished reading, Sylviana finally looked up. Her green eyes met Lisa's brown ones. For a moment, neither spoke. Lisa saw something in those elven eyes that surprised her. It was not anger or hate like she expected. It was fear. Real fear of what was about to happen. Lisa had studied the elves for years before the war started. She knew they were proud people who thought they were better than everyone else in the galaxy. They had magic and technology that seemed impossible. Their ships could travel between stars in seconds. Their warriors could fight for days without getting tired. Their leaders lived for thousands of years and remembered when humans were still learning to make fire. But humans had something the elves did not understand. Humans could change and learn faster than any other race. When the elves laughed at human ships that were slow and ugly, humans went back and made them faster. When elven weapons cut through human armor, humans invented new metals that could not be cut. When elven magic blocked human computers, humans found ways around the magic. The war lasted only 5 years, but it felt like forever. Earth sent every ship and every soldier they had. Human factories worked day and night, making weapons and supplies. Human scientists created new technologies that even they did not fully understand. Human generals studied every elven battle and found their weaknesses. The final battle happened right here above Ethermore. Lisa had been there, commanding the human ship called Liberty. She watched as human fighters dove through elven energy, shields like they were made of paper. She saw elven battleships that had never lost a fight explode in bright flashes of light. She heard the elven admirals calling for help that would never come. Now the war was over, and Lisa had to decide what to do with the defeated enemy. Earth Command wanted her to be hard on the elves. They wanted examples made of the worst war criminals. They wanted the galaxy to know that humans were the new rulers and would not accept any rebellion. Lisa looked down at Sylviana, who was still on her knees, waiting for judgment. The elf's lips were moving, but no sound came out. Lisa realized she was praying to the ancient elven gods for mercy or strength, or maybe just a quick death. Then Sylviana spoke in a voice so quiet, Lisa had to lean forward to hear her. The proud general who had conquered worlds and commanded fleets said the words that would change everything between their two races. Please, humans, show mercy. Sylviana's voice broke as she continued, I will do anything you ask of me. I will serve you and your people. I will help you rule the elves who are left. I will give you all the secrets of our technology and magic. Just please do not kill me like the animal I called you. Lisa stood in silence for a long time, thinking about what to do. She could order Sylviana's execution right now, and no one would question it. The elf had earned death many times over with all the humans she had killed. But something in Lisa's mind made her pause. Maybe it was the way Sylviana had finally admitted that humans were not animals. Maybe it was the chance to learn elven secrets that could help humanity. Maybe it was just curiosity about what this dangerous enemy could become if given a second chance. Lisa made her choice and spoke in a voice that carried throughout the ruined hall. The fate of Lady Sylviana Moonwhisper, and perhaps the future of human and elven relations, would begin with the next words from her lips. Lisa looked down at the kneeling elf and made her decision. You will live, Lady Sylviana, but your old life is over. You will work with my people to help rebuild this world under human rule. If you try to escape or betray us, you will die slowly. Do you understand? Sylviana nodded quickly, her relief clear on her face. Yes, Captain, I understand completely. I will do whatever you command. 2 weeks later, Sylviana found herself in a strange new world. The humans had set up their base in the old elven capital city, but everything was different now. Human technology filled the crystal halls. Computers and machines that looked rough and ugly next to elven beauty, but worked better than anything the elves had ever made. Dr. Kelly Park was the human scientist assigned to work with Sylviana. She was young with short brown hair and kind eyes behind thick glasses. Kelly studied alien biology and culture, which meant she wanted to understand how elves lived and thought. At first, Sylviana did not trust her, but Kelly was patient and gentle. They worked together in a laboratory that used to belong to elven healers. Kelly asked many questions about elven medicine and technology. She wanted to know how elven bodies were different from human bodies. She asked about elven history and why they thought they were better than other races. Sylviana answered the questions, but felt strange doing it. For hundreds of years she had kept elven secrets from enemies. Now she was telling everything to the humans who had defeated her people. But she was alive, and that was more than most elven generals could say. Lieutenant Nicole Hayes was the young human officer who guarded Sylviana. She was only 25 years old, but had fought in the last year of the war. Nicole had blonde hair and blue eyes, and a smile that reminded Sylviana of elven children. Before the war, made them all serious and afraid that Nicole was different from the other human soldiers. She talked to Sylviana like a person instead of a prisoner. She brought her books to read, and sometimes they ate meals together. Nicole asked questions about elven culture, not to learn military secrets, but because she was curious about how elves lived their long lives. One day, while they were eating lunch, Nicole asked why elves lived so much longer than humans. Sylviana explained that elven bodies were connected to the magic energy that flowed through all living things. This energy kept them young and healthy for thousands of years. Nicole listened carefully and asked if humans could learn to use this energy too. Sylviana thought about it and said maybe, but it would take many years of study. Human bodies were different and might not be able to hold as much magical energy. But Nicole was excited by the possibility and asked Sylviana to teach her some basic elven meditation techniques. Captain Lysa Morgan visited the laboratory, often to check on their progress. She wanted to know what Sylviana was teaching Dr. Park about elven technology. Some of the elven machines were very advanced and could help humanity explore space faster and safer. Lisa also had other problems to deal with. The blue-skinned alien called Selenara had come to the human base asking for a meeting. She was a trader who traveled between different worlds buying and selling goods. Selenara had information about something happening in the far parts of the galaxy. XEL single quotes Nara wore expensive clothes and jewelry from many different worlds. Her skin was blue like the ocean, and her eyes were silver. She spoke in a smooth voice that made everything sound like a business deal. She told Lisa that some aliens were not happy about humans winning the war against the elves. These aliens had been allies with the elves for many years. They traded technology and resources and helped each other fight common enemies. Now that the elves were defeated, these aliens were afraid that humans would come for them next. Some of them were talking about working together to fight the humans before it was too late. Lisa listened carefully to what Selenara said. She knew that humans could not fight every alien race in the galaxy at the same time. The war against the elves had used up most of Earth's ships and soldiers. If other aliens decided to attack together, it could be very dangerous for humanity. Selenara offered to sell Lisa more information about which aliens were planning to rebel. She wanted payment in human technology and had promised that her people would be treated fairly in the new order. Lisa agreed to think about it, but did not trust the blue-skinned trader completely. Meanwhile, Sylviana was learning about human culture from Nicole. She discovered that humans were much more diverse than she had thought during the war. There were humans with different skin colors and languages and beliefs, all working together. This was very different from elven society, where everyone tried to be the same. Nicole showed Sylviana pictures of Earth with its blue oceans and green forests. She talked about human music and art and food from different parts of the world. Sylviana realized that she had never really understood what humans were like as people, instead of just enemy soldiers. Dr. Park made an important discovery while studying elven healing techniques. She found that elven medicine could help humans live longer and stay healthier. The elven knowledge of how magic energy worked in living bodies could be combined with human medical technology to create new treatments for diseases. This news excited Lisa because it meant that keeping Sylviana alive had been the right choice. The elf was providing valuable information that could help save human lives. But it also worried her because it meant other humans would want to capture more elves to learn their secrets. One evening, while Sylviana and Nicole were talking in the garden behind the laboratory, an explosion shook the ground. Alarms started ringing throughout the human base. Through the windows, they could see fires burning in the city and human soldiers running toward the sounds of fighting. Nicole grabbed her weapon and told Sylviana to stay close to her. They ran toward the command center, where Lisa was coordinating the response to the attack. Other human officers were shouting reports about elven terrorists who had planted bombs in several buildings. The terrorists were elves who refused to accept defeat. They wanted to keep fighting, even though their armies were destroyed and their leaders were dead or captured. They thought that if they could kill enough humans, the rest would leave Ethermore and go back to Earth. Lisa ordered her soldiers to find and stop the terrorists before they could set off more bombs. She also worried that some humans would blame all elves for the attack and want to hurt innocent elven civilians. The peace she was trying to build could be destroyed if the violence got worse. Sylvia Na watched the humans respond to the crisis and saw something that surprised her. The human soldiers were angry about the attack, but they were careful not to hurt elven civilians who were running away from the fires. Human medics helped wounded elves the same way they helped wounded humans. This was not what Sylviana expected. From the savage animals she had been taught humans were. These humans had discipline and honor even when they were angry. They followed rules about how to treat prisoners and civilians, even in the middle of a fight. As the night went on, the human soldiers caught most of the elven terrorists. Some had been killed in the fighting, but others were captured alive. Lisa gave orders that the prisoners should be questioned, but not tortured. She wanted to know if there were more attacks planned, but she would not allow her people to become as cruel as their enemies. When morning came, the fires were out, and the base was secure again. Lisa called a meeting with all her officers to discuss what the attack meant for their mission on Ethermore. Some of the humans wanted to be much harder on the elven population to prevent more terrorism. Sylviana asked Nicole if she could speak to Captain Morgan about the attack. Nicole was surprised, but agreed to ask Lisa if she would listen to what the former elven general had to say. Sylviana had an idea that might help prevent more violence, but she was not sure if the humans would trust her enough to listen. Lisa sat in her office, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The news was not good. 3 more worlds had declared independence from human rule in the past week. Alien fleets were gathering in the outer rim systems where human patrols rarely went. Something big was being planned, and Lisa did not have enough ships to stop it. Major Rachel Stone entered the office without knocking. She was a tall woman with gray hair and cold eyes who believed humans should rule the galaxy with an iron fist. Rachel had arrived from Earth 2 months ago with orders to make the occupation of alien worlds more strict. The elves are planning another uprising, Rachel said, dropping a data pad on Lisa's desk. Our spies report secret meetings in the old temple districts. They are using their magic to hide their communications from our sensors. We should arrest every elf in the city and question them until someone talks. Liza picked up the data pad and read the intelligence report. It was mostly rumors and second-hand information. She looked up at Rachel and shook her head. We cannot arrest thousands of innocent people based on rumors. That would make us no better than the elves when they ruled over humans. Rachel's face turned red with anger. You are too soft, Lisa. These aliens only understand strength and fear. Every day you delay gives them more time to organize against us. When they attack again, the blood will be on your hands. Before Lisa could respond, her communication device beeped. Nicole's voice came through clearly. Captain Morgan, we have a priority message from Admiral Susan Clark. She is requesting immediate video conference. Lisa activated the holographic display on her desk. The image of Admiral Clark appeared floating in blue light. Susan was Lisa's superior officer, an old friend from the military academy. She had short black hair and wore the uniform of Earth Command with 5 stars on her collar. Lisa, I have urgent news from the intelligence division, Susan said without greeting. We have confirmed reports of a major alien alliance forming in the Kepler system. At least 12 different species have joined together with the goal of driving humans out of this sector. They call themselves the Liberation Front. How many ships are we talking about? Lisa asked, though she already feared the answer. Best estimate is over 2,000 warships, Susan replied. They have been building in secret for months, using hidden shipyards in asteroid fields. Some are old elven designs, but others use technology we have never seen before. Rachel leaned forward to speak into the display. Admiral, this proves my point about being too gentle with the defeated aliens. We should have eliminated their ability to fight back when we had the chance. Susan nodded slowly. Major Stone may be right, Lisa. Earth Command is sending you additional forces, but they will not arrive for 6 weeks. You need to take immediate action to prevent this alliance from launching a coordinated attack. Lisa thought quickly about her options. The human fleet in this sector had only 300 ships, and most of those were patrol vessels not built for major battles. If the aliens attacked, now humanity could lose everything they had won in the war against the elves. There is something else, Susan continued. Our intelligence suggests the aliens are being supplied by someone with very advanced technology. Weapons and ships that are better than anything the elves ever had. We do not know who is behind this, but they have resources that dwarf even Earth's. Industrial capacity. After the call ended, Lisa sat in silence, thinking about the impossible situation. Rachel paced back and forth, talking about military solutions that would require more ships and soldiers than they had. Lisa needed a different approach, but was not sure what it could be. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Nicole entered, followed by Silviana, who looked nervous but determined. Captain Morgan, the elf, said carefully, "Lieutenant Hayes told me about the alien alliance. I believe I can help you stop them." Rachel laughed harshly. "Help us? You mean help your own people prepare for another war against humanity?" Silviana shook her head. "Major Stone, you do not understand. The aliens forming this alliance were never truly loyal to the Elven Empire. They only worked with us because we were strong and could protect them from worse enemies. Now they see humans as the new threat to their independence." Lisa gestured for Silviana to continue. "What kind of help are you offering? I know the leaders of most of these alien species," Silviana said. "I fought alongside some of them and against others over the centuries. They respect strength, but they also value honor and keeping agreements. If you approach them correctly, you might be able to break up their alliance before it becomes dangerous." Rachel stepped closer to Silviana with her hand on her weapon. "And why would you help the people who destroyed your empire and killed your friends?" Silviana looked directly at Rachel without flinching. "Because I have seen how humans treat their enemies, and I have seen how they treat their friends. The elves ruled through fear and oppression. Humans seem to prefer cooperation when possible. My people have a better chance of survival and rebuilding under human leadership than under the chaos of constant war." Lisa considered what Silviana was saying. It made sense that some aliens would prefer stable rule to endless conflict. But she also knew that many would fight to the death rather than submit to any foreign power, especially one made up of the humans they had looked down on for so long. Over the next few days, more disturbing news arrived. The cat-like aliens called. The Viltari had sent assassins to human outposts on 3 different worlds. The reptilian Zephyrians had stopped all trade with human colonies. Even worse, Admiral Clark reported that some human ships had disappeared while patrolling near the Outer Rim. Dr. Park made an important discovery while analyzing captured alien weapons. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human or elven databases. Whoever was supplying the Liberation Front had technology that was completely unknown to either species. This meant the threat was even worse than anyone had realized. Lisa decided to take a desperate gamble. She would take a small fleet to the Kepler system and try to negotiate with the alien leaders before they could launch their attack. Silviana would come with her as an advisor and translator. Nicole would command the ship's security team to protect them both. Rachel strongly opposed this plan. She wanted to wait for the reinforcements from Earth and then attack the alien alliance with overwhelming force. But Lisa knew that by the time the reinforcements arrived, the aliens might have already struck at human colonies and killed millions of innocent people. The night before they were scheduled to leave, Silviana came to Lisa's quarters to talk privately. "Captain," she said, "there is something I must tell you about the alien alliance. Something I learned from studying the intelligence reports you shared with me. Lisa invited her to sit down and poured 2 cups of coffee. What did you discover? The technology being used by the Liberation Front is not from any known species in Nendo. This galaxy, Sylviana said slowly, the energy patterns and design principles are completely foreign. I believe someone from outside our galaxy is helping the aliens specifically to fight against humanity. This news was more disturbing than anything. They had learned so far. If there was an external force working against humanity, it changed everything about the conflict. Lisa realized they were not just fighting rebellious aliens, but something much more dangerous and unknown. Who could have this kind of advanced technology? Lisa asked. Sylviana looked frightened as she answered. There are old elven legends about beings that came from the spaces between galaxies long ago. They were said to feed on conflict and war, turning civilizations against each other until nothing was left but ruins. Most elves thought these were just stories to frighten children. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. If these legends were true, then humanity faced an enemy that was older and more powerful than anything they had ever fought. The war against the elves would seem like a small dispute compared to what might be coming. The next morning, Lisa's small fleet left Ethermore heading for the Kepler system. She had 5 ships, including her flagship called the Defiant. It was not much of a force to face 2,000 enemy vessels, but it was all she could spare, without leaving the conquered worlds completely defenseless. As they traveled through hyperspace toward what might be humanity's greatest challenge, Lisa wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. But she also knew that sometimes leaders had to take risks that others would not take. The future of human civilization might depend on what happened in the next few days. Lisa's small fleet arrived at the edge of the Kepler system to find more ships than anyone had expected. The alien alliance was not just 2,000 vessels, but nearly 4,000. They filled space like a swarm of angry insects, all pointing their weapons toward the 5 human ships that had dared to enter their territory. The main view screen of the Defiant showed dozens of different alien ship designs. Lisa recognized some from the old elven databases, but many were completely unknown. Sleek vessels that looked like they were grown rather than built. Massive cube-shaped ships that pulsed with strange energy. Fighters that moved in patterns that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. We are being scanned by multiple sources, Nicole reported from the security station. Some of the energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever technology they are using, it is far beyond anything we have encountered before. Sylviana stood beside Lisa, looking at the alien fleet with worried eyes. This is much worse than I thought, she said quietly. Those ships in the center formation are not from any species I know. They are using the other aliens as shields, while they hide their true numbers and capabilities. Before Lisa could respond, the communication system activated. A dozen different alien voices spoke at once, creating a chaos of sounds and languages. Slowly, one voice emerged, stronger than the others, speaking in accented but clear human English. Human ships, you have entered the sovereign territory of the Liberation Front. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply. Lisa stepped forward to address the alien fleet. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of Earth Command. I request permission to speak with your leaders about ending this conflict peacefully. We do not wish to fight you, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. Laughter came through the speakers. Different types of alien laughter that sounded like growls and hisses and musical notes. Then the same voice responded. You wish to negotiate from a position of weakness, human. Your 5 ships against our 4,000. Perhaps your species is not as intelligent as your victory over the elves suggested. Sylviana touched Lisa's arm and whispered, Let me try. I know that voice. It belongs to Commander Zeth Kalar of the reptilian hegemony. We fought together against the Void Pirates 20 years ago. He respects courage more than ships. Lisa nodded and stepped back. Sylviana moved to the communication panel and spoke in a clear, strong voice. Zeth Kalar, you old scale brain, this is Lady Sylviana Moonwhisper. I challenge you to single combat if you are too cowardly to listen to what we have to say. The alien laughter stopped immediately. After a long pause, the reptilian voice responded with what sounded like surprise. Sylviana Moonwhisper. We heard you were dead, or worse, that you had become a pet of the humans who defeated your people. I am very much alive, Sylviana replied, and I have learned things about our true enemies that you need to hear. Give us safe passage to your flagship, or spend the rest of your short life wondering what secrets died with me. Another long pause followed. Then the alien fleet began to move, creating a corridor through their formation. The massive reptilian command ship moved forward to meet the human vessels. It was shaped like a great serpent with scales that reflected starlight and eyes that glowed red along its hull. Lisa ordered her ships to follow the prescribed route, but kept all weapons ready for immediate use. She did not trust the aliens to keep their word about safe passage, but this might be their only chance to prevent a war that could destroy both sides. The docking bay of the reptilian ship was huge and filled with atmosphere that smelled like sulfur and hot metal. Lisa and Sylviana walked down the ramp of their shuttle, followed by Nicole and 2 other human officers. They were met by 6-foot-tall reptilian warriors, wearing ceremonial armor and carrying energy spears. Commander Sith Kalar was waiting for them in the main conference chamber. He was 8 feet tall, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to see everything. His voice was deep and powerful, like distant thunder when he spoke. Lady Sylviana, he said, with what might have been respect. You look different than when we last met. Defeat has changed you in ways I did not expect. Sylviana straightened her shoulders and met his gaze directly. Defeat taught me to see clearly instead of through the fog of pride and arrogance. Commander, the first present, Captain Lessa Morgan of the Human Forces. She has something important to tell you about who is really behind this alliance. Lisa stepped forward and activated a portable holographic display. The images showed energy readings and ship designs that did not match any known technology. Commander Zeth Kalar, she said, your alliance is being manipulated by forces that want to see all of our species destroyed. The weapons and ships being provided to you come with a price that you may not understand until it is too late. The reptilian commander studied the data carefully. His warriors whispered among themselves in their native language. Finally, he looked up at Lisa with something like curiosity in his ancient eyes. Human captain, he said, why do you bring us this information? Your species would benefit if we destroy ourselves fighting each other. Lisa shook her head. That kind of thinking is exactly what our real enemies want. Humans learned during our war with the elves that we are stronger when we work together than when we fight alone. The same principle applies to all the species in this galaxy. Before Zeth Kalar could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. A younger reptilian officer ran into the chamber, speaking rapidly in their language. The commander's expression changed to one of alarm and anger. Captain Morgan, he said urgently, your fleet and mine are both under attack. Ships are appearing out of nowhere, using technology that makes them nearly invisible to our sensors. We must return to our vessels immediately. Lisa and her party ran back to their shuttle as explosions echoed through the reptilian ship. Outside, they could see flashes of energy weapons and the bright fires of ships being destroyed. The mysterious attackers had finally revealed themselves, and they were more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The battle that followed lasted 6 hours and tested every skill that human and alien crews possessed. The enemy ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space, making them almost impossible to target. Their weapons cut through the strongest shields and armor, like they were made of paper, but humans and their former enemies learned to fight together in ways that surprised everyone, including themselves. Human tactical flexibility combined with alien technology and experience created new strategies that the mysterious attackers had not expected. Nicole commanded a mixed squadron of human and reptilian fighters that used elven stealth techniques Sylviana had taught them. Dr. Park worked with alien scientists to develop countermeasures against the enemy weapons. Even Major Rachel Stone found herself coordinating with alien commanders she had wanted to arrest just days before. The turning point came when Sylviana suggested using an old elven ritual that could temporarily merge the consciousness of different species. It was dangerous and had never been tried in battle, but it allowed human and alien crews to anticipate each other's actions perfectly. Lisa found herself mentally connected to Commander Zethkalar and 2 other alien captains. Their combined knowledge and instincts guided the Allied fleet in ways that no single species could have achieved alone. For the first time, the mysterious attackers began to retreat instead of advancing. When the battle ended, both sides had suffered heavy losses, but the alliance between former enemies had held. More importantly, they had learned valuable information about their true opponents. The attacking ships had been crewed by beings that looked almost human, but with pale skin and completely black eyes. Dr. Park analyzed the wreckage of one enemy ship that had been disabled rather than destroyed. The technology was incredibly advanced, but also somehow familiar. The energy patterns were similar to readings she had seen in ancient elven texts about the beings that came from outside the galaxy. Sylviana confirmed what Lisa had begun to suspect. These were the void dwellers from the old legends. They fed on conflict and destruction and had been manipulating events in the galaxy for thousands of years. The war between humans and elves had been part of their plan to weaken all the major powers before revealing themselves. Commander Zethkalar dissolved the Liberation Front and proposed something unprecedented. A true alliance between humans and all the alien species that wanted to survive the coming war. It would not be easy because centuries of mistrust and prejudice could not be overcome quickly, but they had taken the first step by fighting together against a common enemy. Lisa knew that humanity's future depended not on ruling the galaxy through force, but on earning the respect and cooperation of the other species that called it home. The journey back to Ethamore gave everyone time to think about what they had learned and what challenges lay ahead. The Void Dwellers were still out there, planning their next move. But now they faced not a divided galaxy of squabbling species, but the beginning of something that had never existed before, a united federation, where humans and aliens could work together as equals against any threat that came from the darkness between the stars. The Great Hall on Ethamore had been rebuilt, but now it looked different than before. Human technology mixed with elven architecture and alien art from dozens of worlds. Representatives from every species in the galaxy sat around a massive circular table that had no head, because no one species was more important than the others. Lisa wore her captain's uniform, but now it had new symbols on the shoulders. Golden stars from Earth mixed with silver crescents from the elves and colored gems. That represented each alien species in the new alliance. She was no longer just a human officer, but the first supreme, commander of the Galactic Federation. Sylviana sat to her right, wearing robes that combined elven tradition with human military style. She had become the Federation's first ambassador of species relations, helping different cultures learn to work together. Her long silver hair had grown back, and her green eyes showed the wisdom that came from surviving defeat and finding purpose in cooperation. General Patricia Wells had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago, expecting to take command of human forces in the galaxy. She was Lisa's old rival from the military academy, a tall woman with red hair and a reputation for never losing a battle. Patricia had not been pleased to learn that Lisa was now in charge of more than just human ships. Admiral Susan Clark sat across the table looking at reports from the Outer Rim territories. The Void Dwellers had not been idle since their defeat at Kepler. They were attacking isolated colonies and trying to turn different species against each other using fear and lies. Their ultimate goal remained the destruction all organized. Civilization in the galaxy. The door to the hall opened, and Dr. Kelly Park entered carrying a datapad with urgent news. She had been working day and night with scientists from every species to understand Void Dweller technology and find ways to fight it. Her young face showed the strain of too little sleep and too much responsibility. Commander Morgan Kelly said breathlessly, "We have a problem. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive energy signatures moving toward the galactic core. The Void Dwellers are not just planning raids anymore. They are preparing for total war." Patricia stood up and pointed at the holographic display Kelly activated. "Those are not ships," she said, studying the energy readings. "Those signatures are too large and too powerful. What exactly are we looking at?" Dr. Park manipulated the display to show a clearer image. "We believe these are mobile battle stations, each one the size of a small moon. Our estimates suggest they carry enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. And there are at least 50 of them heading this way." The alien representatives around the table began talking excitedly in their native languages. The reptilian commander, Seth Kalar, spoke first in his deep, rumbling voice. "If these stations reach the inhabited systems, we will not be able to evacuate everyone in time. Billions will die, and our worlds will be left as empty rocks floating in space." Ulder Moontier was the oldest elf still alive and had seen the rise and fall of empires across thousands of years. She spoke in a voice that carried the weight of ancient wisdom. "There is something in the old texts about weapons like these. The Void Dwellers used them to destroy civilizations in other galaxies before coming here. They call them World Eaters because nothing can survive their attack." Lisa looked around the table at faces that showed fear but also determination. These beings had been enemies not long ago, but now they were united by the need to survive. Humanity had brought them together not through conquest, but through the simple idea that cooperation was stronger than conflict. "How long do we have before they arrive?" Lisa asked. Dr. Park checked her calculations. "Based on their current speed and trajectory, approximately 6 months. But that assumes they maintain their present course and do not accelerate." Patricia leaned forward with the aggressive energy that had made her famous throughout Earth's military. 6 months is enough time to prepare if we act decisively. We need to mobilize every ship and weapon in the galaxy. This is not a time for diplomacy and discussion. This is a time for war." Sylviana shook her head gently. "General Wells, you think like a human military officer from a single world. We are not facing an enemy that can be defeated with conventional weapons and tactics. The Void Dwellers have destroyed thousands of civilizations over millions of years. They know every strategy we might use. Then what do you suggest?" Patricia asked with barely controlled impatience. Elder Moontier spoke again, her ancient voice carrying across the hall. "There is a way mentioned in the oldest records. The Void Dwellers can be defeated, but only by using the combined life force of entire worlds channeled through individuals who are willing to sacrifice everything for others." Nicole, who had been promoted to colonel for her bravery in the recent battles, raised her hand to speak. "Are you talking about some kind of magical ritual? Can we really trust legends and stories when facing an enemy with technology?" This advanced. Dr. Park nodded enthusiastically. "Colonel High's the Elven legends match what we have learned about Void Dweller weaknesses. Their ships and weapons are powered by negative energy that feeds on death and destruction. But they are vulnerable to positive energy created by cooperation. And sacrificed. Lisa stood up and walked to the great window that looked out over the rebuilt city. Humans and elves and aliens from dozens of worlds worked together in the streets below, building something new from the ruins of the old. It was exactly the kind of cooperation that the Void Dwellers wanted to destroy. She turned back to address the assembly. We have 6 months to prepare for the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. But we also have something no previous civilization had when the Void Dwellers attacked them. We have unity between species that were once enemies. We have technology shared freely instead of hoarded. Most importantly, we have hope. Over the following weeks, the entire galaxy transformed into a massive military and industrial operation. Human factories worked alongside elven crystal forges and alien biogenerators to produce weapons and ships faster than ever before. New technologies emerged from combining the knowledge of different species in ways that none of them could have achieved alone. But the most important preparation was not technological. Representatives from every world worked to create deeper bonds between their peoples. If Elder Moontear was right, the final battle would be won not by weapons, but by the willingness of beings from different species to trust and sacrifice for each other. Nicole and Sylviana developed new training programs that taught humans and aliens to fight together as perfectly coordinated units. Patricia grudgingly admitted that these mixed species teams were more effective than traditional human formations. Even she began to see the value in Lisa's approach to leadership. Dr. Park made a breakthrough discovery while studying the energy patterns of the approaching world eaters. The massive battle stations were not just weapons, but also dimensional gates. The Void Dwellers planned to use them to bring their entire civilization into this galaxy for the final harvest of all life. This news was terrifying, but it also revealed an opportunity. If the world eaters could be destroyed while they were opening the dimensional gates, it might trap the main Void Dweller fleet in the space between galaxies where they belonged. The plan that emerged was desperate and would require perfect timing and coordination between thousands of ships and millions of beings. Every inhabited world would contribute its life force to power weapons that could penetrate Void Dweller defenses. But the beings channeling this energy would likely die in the process. When Lisa announced the plan to the Galactic Federation Assembly, every representative volunteered their world to participate. Humans and elves and aliens who had once fought each other were now ready to die together to protect their common home. The final battle took place in the empty space between star systems where the world eaters had positioned themselves to begin their dimensional opening. The combined fleets of the Galactic Federation faced enemies that blotted out the stars with their size and powered out Lisa, commanded from the flagship Unity that had been built using technology from every member species. Beside her stood Sylviana and Nicole and Patricia and representatives from dozens of worlds. They were connected through elven ritual and human technology into a single consciousness that could coordinate the actions of every ship in the fleet. The battle began with conventional weapons, but quickly escalated as the Void Dwellers revealed the true extent of their power. Their dark energy weapons could destroy entire squadrons with single shots. Their defensive shields seemed impenetrable to any attack. The Federation could mount dot, but as the battle reached its climax, something extraordinary happened. The life force energy from billions of beings across the galaxy began to flow through the Federation fleet. Every ship glowed with light. It grew brighter as more beings joined their will to the common cause. Lisa felt the consciousness of every person fighting with her. Humans who had dreamed of the stars since childhood. Elves who had lived for thousands of years and seen the rise and fall of empires. Aliens whose names she could not pronounce, but whose courage was identical to her own. The combined energy of all these beings created weapons that could cut through Void Dweller defenses like light, cutting through darkness. One by one the massive World eaters began to explode, sending shockwaves across space that could